Hello everybody, in this video I'm going to take a look at Dice Legacy. I'm going to share with you lots of information that you need to know about this game, and hopefully it will help you decide whether to buy this game or not. Well, the thing is that I don't even know how to describe this game. It's described in different ways, both by the developer and based on based on my experience. So it's basically a kind of a city builder, roguelike survival board game, kind of, with dices. Now the game takes place in a procedurally generated ring world. It's a really unique design, but it basically really supports well the core mechanics of the game. It's not like, for example, where you have lots of micromanagement, although from what you have, you really need to pay attention to actually what you're doing and play it well. The game can be very partnership, especially at the higher levels, so you need to make sure that you are doing things correctly. Now the cubes have different facets, each one represents certain actions you can actually do. For example, if you want to fight, you do the sword to attack enemies. If you want to harvest resources, like for example like wood, you need to put a certain facet that actually matches the icon that you see there. Now once you do that, each action takes time, seconds. You can actually expedite it by just using the buttons at the top right corner. You can pause the game, you can play regular speed, faster speed, or the fastest speed. Now there are placed a total of 12 dices, although you can create more, but you can only have 12 dices in your hand at any given time. Now you can roll the dice using the roll button, you can lock dices if you don't want them to be rolled once you place the button. You can create different structures that give you different things, like for example preventing some dices from getting frozen during the winter, or producing new type of dices. And speaking of the dices, there are different dice classes in the game. So of course for each class you can do different things. For example, you have the peasants, which are the orange one we actually start with. You have citizens, soldiers, priests, and merchants. Now at the beginning of each season there's going to be a council which allows you to choose a proposal of a new law. This is permanent for you, so you can actually get many of them each season, and you need to choose the one that you can actually benefit with. If you get a rare one, you can see kind of something like a red seal. That means that it's a rare one, so make sure you pay attention to it. But what you can see here is the one for the peasants. Now when you unlock new type of dice classes and you have them in your hand, you're going to see they're going to be more options for these particular dices. Now we can actually see they have three type of dice classes. I have the peasant, I have the red one, which is a merchant, and I have the citizen, which is the green one, which is currently frozen because it's winter and I didn't actually heat the area. So when I obtain it back from one of the things that I've done, it's actually got frozen. I can actually use it. It won't lose durability, but I can use it. Now keep in mind the dice can have negative effects. For example, they can get wounded or they can get frozen, as you can see here, and you can even have negative or positive traits to dices. There's also the technology tree, although don't expect something expensive as civilization, right? This is kind of a very simple, but with different categories. But again, the game has so many things to keep in mind, even with that, although it's not expensive in terms of features compared to other city builder games, with what you have, trust me, is going to be very, very challenging. Now keep in mind the dice classes can be happy or unhappy, and this of course is the fact. There's also option for them to just riot and maybe just not work, and some of the items that you have there will stop working. They can even riot if you get, for example, a riot and the riot reach the end of the timer, you can actually just lose the game. Now there are different ways to deal with this, depending on your policy. If you choose a policy for this particular dice class, or for example, if you create a certain structure that allows you to increase the happiness for a specific die class, there are different options to do that. Now there are so many things happening all at once, and of course this is time-based as well. Although you can pause the game, you can actually put dices and manage things while the game is paused. Something to keep in mind. If you want to do this, you need to start the timer again by pressing the play or fast forward at the top right corner. Now keep in mind that resources can be exhausted, and if you look at the top, you can actually see there's a fence there, the pause. So this fence, you can actually move forward. What you need to do is put a certain structure which allows you to further expand and move forward, and then you can see the fog of war kind of disappear, and then you can see which resources and other things you have there. You can find different camps, for example, which you can explore with. Of course, you need a certain facet of the cube to explore it. You can even further explore, but the chances to get something and lose what you already got, can be at higher risk. You can also raid encampments. Again, you need a soldier dice in order to do that. Now there are so many other things in the game. For example, empowerment. You see the number 3 there in the sword. This is the empowerment. You need to certain building in order to increase the empowerment of asset. So because some of the things like attacking different structures require you to have higher empowerment. For example, like 8, and you can do this by just combining different, for example, like 2 attack dices with 4 empowerment, so you can actually destroy a building if you like, or maybe just fight an enemy that come towards you. You can even create dices with different traits and that one that mix and match with different type of classes. You can even create a dice you can actually keep for later. After you finish the game, you can actually go and use it again. There are really so many unique mechanics here that you need to all manage properly in order to be able to finish a run. But it's very easy because the map, again, you can see, is not too big. What you see is the entire map, right? I need to get to the end and destroy this arbor, the structure at the end of this map. Now, the cool thing is that the game is very open for you to choose your own strategy to finish the level, and it's up to you to decide which path you actually take. You can even do this with just even 2 dice classes. It's up to you to decide which one. You can use them all if you like. And sometimes each run can take you even several hours to complete. Depends, of course, you know, how you play it, if you play it well. And of course, you can also lose the game if you don't pay attention. And one important tip for you, just make sure you have enough dice. For example, you need at least 2. If you have just 1, you are screwed. If you have 2, you can actually, with 2, create more. Alright, so just make sure that you don't get a situation where just 1, and actually basically, you know, I can't do anything with just 1. So if you have 2, you can use a certain building to produce more dice, but if you have 1, there's no chance. Something to keep in mind. Now, of course, the more things to talk about, I won't put everything, you're gonna find out once you play, but basically let's talk about other things like visuals. The game looks amazing in my opinion. So original and unique, you feel it immediately once you start playing the game. Now the UI design is just perfect, non-obstructive, designed very well, so you still have the focus on the city, but you know, there are not too many options, and the options you have are very well managed with the UI, so again, not overwhelming with lots of buttons and things. It's very easy to manage, especially when you need to do so many actions, and sometimes very quickly. And I want to say the music, absolutely amazing, guys. The music in this game is really one of the things that I've done when I just listened to the music, just increase the volume because I just wanted to hear the music even louder because it was just so good. Same goes to the sound effect. This really kind of makes you enjoy the game, you know, when you kind of have this music in the background. So by default, I think it wasn't that high, so just make sure that, you know, put it a bit up louder. There are different options, by the way, in the settings, so make sure you check it out as well. But the music was incredible, absolutely incredible. Now the cool thing is that after you unlock the first playthrough, you're gonna unlock different scenario selections, which is cool. Adds to the higher replayability. Although again, you have procedurally generated maps anyway, so again, you're gonna enjoy it every single time. But you can choose a new game with a different scenario and also with a new ruler. So basically, we're gonna start with different resources and with different cubes, and you can see the leader. I haven't unlocked all of them just yet, but again, when I play more, of course, more will be unlocked. And based on my gameplay, and I play more than 10 hours, I haven't found any bugs, anything. It just plays so smoothly. And it's easy type of game, kind of a board game. You just want to relax, go into it, and just absorb yourself, forget about everything around you, and just play and enjoy a really great strategy game. And the other thing is that the game feels so unique, so original. Of course, it's inspired by other games, but it just brings out this type of RNG with the dices in a really unique city builder, gameplay mechanics and formula, and twist it, in a way that you really feel you are playing a different game completely. So once you get into the game, you really feel like, wow, this is something that I haven't played before. And this is exactly what I wanted. I want this type of games where I say, finally something, a breath of fresh air, something new and exciting. So if you were searching for a challenging strategy game, you don't want, you don't enjoy the very overwhelming micromanagement in this type of games. You want relatively, a playthrough that, it's reasonable in terms of time. You don't have a lot of time, but still you're gonna invest time, but not something that can last you, a long time. You just want to enjoy a good playthrough and have good replayability to try it again. Of course, Keep in mind, it's not something you're going to finish in 15 minutes, but you can always get out, by the way, save, and go back to the game. But there's no save, like you can't really save now in a certain point. This is kind of a roguelike. So basically, you can go back to the game, but you can't save it, the progress in every single moment, right? There's no option for that. But if you go out and you come again, you can load the game. Yeah, so that's it. This is an amazing game, guys. This is one for those of you who like city builder games or strategy games and want something, you know, that have high replay value, but now that something that is not overwhelming you with lots of micromanagement, but still smart decisions that you need to make in order to be able to win. So bottom line, get this game. Absolutely amazing and worth it. I hope you enjoyed this one. Consider subscribing to my channel and give this one a little like. And if you want to discover more new and upcoming games, make sure you check this section in my channel for more amazing games. Maybe some of them you haven't heard of at all. So until the next one, thanks for watching. Cheers. Bye-bye.